Well, it wouldn't be Christmas without a trip to conservative home, and that's where we're going to be going in just a moment. However, I will tell you this now. We're going to cover some more panicking about reform. However, this is coming from a young conservative, and young conservatives honestly are like a breed apart. They are sort of like this mythical unicorn that you don't really know exists until you actually meet them in the wild or you see something like this today, because the person who we're looking at today is doing his A levels. You know, you can't get more younger conservative than someone who's doing their A levels. But here he is on Conservative Home writing about how the conservatives can finally avoid, deal with reform and what exactly is they're going to do. They still don't know what they're going to do by their own minds, but trust me, next year, 2025, we are going to see. I can predict now. I am predicting next year we are going to see, especially in the lead up to the local elections, like January, February, March, April, and May. Oh boy, we are going to see some insane panicking about reform. And depending on how the local elections shape out, it is either going to go through the roof and potentially even, affect Kimmy Badnock. Maybe she leaves quicker than we think. Who knows at this point? Who knows? But trust me, next year, we are going to see like peak conservative panicking. Like if you think you've seen panic yet, we have yet to begin to see the real panic set in. And trust me, that will kick in next year as we go towards the local elections in May. And then, of course, depending on how that shakes out, oh boy. What is it? The Julius Caesar quote: "Cry havoc and let's slip the dogs of war," or let's slip the dogs of panic, or cat amongst the pigeons, maybe. But before we do go getting into this, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. Down below, there are links to my Patreon page, the one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee, the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there's the Pony Club down below as well. So let's crack on then into this. So here is Ralph Farrow, an A-level student studying history, geography, and economics, and probably, future conservative. Well, probably not a future conservative MP, but maybe even like future conservative, I don't know, political consultant. Anyway, let's have a look, shall we? What he has to say in his infinite wisdom about how the Conservatives should tackle reform. So, Nigel Farage's adoption of the Reform crown on June the 3rd and his had a very bad follows of the Conservatives now fixating on his every movement. And yet, because there's one thing that, Conservatives worry about, it's where it's the shadow of Nigel Farage. Oh no, what is this? What is this I see upon my wall? It is the shadow of the Farage. He is coming for me. It's literally how it is. It might seem very, very comical, but that is literally how they react to it. Anyway, the proudest, of course, political disruptor of our age was on maneuvers, and yet again, now to inflict maximum damage onto us. The threat he encapsulates is very present on multiple fronts. His unrivaled ability to coherently articulate people's concerns while continually stopping short of providing a pragmatic solution led many to believe that he was the only sane and receptive politician standing. Yeah, he's got that very true. And that's what the Conservatives should be calling him out on. That he's got no solutions, that he's offering no solutions. Like, yeah, he's peddling something, but he's got no solutions. There was a something I was going to do on Conservative Home, and it was one of the guys saying, "Oh, look, well, if these reform candidates do win big in the local May elections, they're going to turn out to be an absolute disaster. It's going to be an absolute gift for us." And it's just like, yeah, maybe, but you don't know that's going to be the case until that shakes out. So that's a lot of copium they're already trying to inhale, and the local elections haven't even happened yet because they still have not recovered from their general election thrashing. Anyway, his political presence, though powerful and, of course, imposing, is generally intimidating. The electorate is, of course, used to his hyperbolic statements and tend to grab the headlines. All these accounts now for nothing unless a core support base exists. And again, that does, again, have a core support base. We've seen that now very clearly. Our party, of course, treats this very creation with tenuous skepticism. We have now swiftly declined and implemented the idea that a 6-year-old party that was flatlining in the polls just a few years ago could overtake the membership of the most successful Western political party. Now, our denial is built on increasingly fragile foundations. So, at least I will agree with him calling out, hey, maybe this panic isn't so warranted as people think, but maybe it is. Now he's building to his own panic as well. Farage, of course, gleefully waving his 100,000 members card, confirmed that this challenge is now to a real position on the centre-right is now colossal. Again, centre-right. Reform aren't a centre-right party. They are very much a party of the right, which is, again, part of the problem. But there you go. So, a thriving actual party does rely on a healthy composition of members who can actually debate ideas and decide what should triumph now in the face of the electorate. This is why the establishment of policy commissions is to drill down the foundational cornerstones is now immensely wise, despite the Prime Minister's futile mocking. And again, Kimmy Badenoch should have already had that in place. And who exactly are doing a lot of these, policy commissions? Well, they're going to Conservative Party members, not the public, bear in mind, Conservative Party members, and saying, well, what do you want? Meanwhile, maybe if you did, something with the public would say vastly different things, and and then the Conservatives might be like, oh, oh, that's a bit of a strange policy. These people suddenly want. Maybe we'll just go here, just safely stay and ask our members what it is that they want. And of course, the doom loop for the Conservatives will continue for some time to come. So dismissing, of course, Reform's membership is now a doomed approach. It is lazy, morally wrong, and at least factually inaccurate to do the repeat of at least Cameron's lunacies, fruitcakes, and closet racist stunt because Reform voters are mostly on the same ideological line as us. Not really. They're more right wing on a lot of these things, and some things you do agree on, but not 100%. It's what the policy should be. Again, Nigel Farage doesn't really have a lot of policies on his own. Of course, the pressing need to at least rethink net zero policy. Why net zero policy is pretty good. Again, it could be better, but it is something that if your party, quote, wants to be proud of or should run on, maybe it should actually be saying, actually, we were actually quite ambitious about our net zero policies. We did want it to fulfill some of this stuff. And it was unfortunately a foolish mistake by Rishi Sunak not to commit to following those net zero policies. Remember, a lot of your own party, as we saw very recently, overwhelmingly in the UK, the prevailing ideology is environmentalism. Like, people prefer or call themselves an environmentalist. So, and that's like what 63%, I think, was on that recently. If that is the case, why then the Conservatives so keen to just kick net zero into touch when there is such support for, environmentalist policy, reaching net zero, doing stuff about climate. Anyway, he continues to unshackle, of course, our overburdened economy. Again, how are you going to do that? And especially relevant after Kimmy Badenoch's emphatic abundancy. Oh, hang on. Let me see if this is worth. Anyway, and we're back after that. sorry about that. But yes, let's have a look back at this. And of course, unshackle, of course, our overburdened economy, and especially relevant after Kimmy Badenoch's emphatic ascendancy, eradicate widespread identity politics from places of influence or, of course, points of overshared overlap. Except here's the thing, as we've said, I don't know how many times, this identity politics stuff has not translated well to the UK. Even America, it's falling off a cliff. It's not winning elections like it once did. It's not its dominance as it once had over there. And you saw Kimmy Badenoch's awful, cringy speech where other conservatives responded to it as, yeah, that's a bit, maybe, yeah, maybe not. So the danger, of course, not emphasizing these is the momentum, of course, falls to the party, and is now seen to at least be adopting them. That would be reform. Elon Musk seems to be, of course, a prime example of this, entertaining notions of even financing reform to see them bear fruit electorally without even knowing what the Conservative Party and its leader actually believe in. It doesn't matter because, like I say, economically, reform is full-bore free market fundamentalism. In their last general election manifesto, they were pretty much Liz Truss on steroids. That was how other economists described their economic policy. Are the Conservatives going to go that direction as well? Because here's the thing, Farage's entire objective, going back to the days of UKIP, was to pull the party back into a further right-wing agenda. Because as far as he was concerned, Cameron and the rest had pulled the party too close to the centre. He wanted to pull it back to a right-wing party and to pursue hard right interests and hard right policy. That is where they are trying to do, and they're still trying to do it right now. So even if they do adopt like a Farage position, all Farage has to do is just move even further to the right. That's all he has ever done. And that's all his aim has been, and that's what he's always wanted to do. But so far, you're not talking about anything. Oh, this guy's at least not talking about anything at all about how maybe you can pull those people back. Because this stuff, by the looks of it, and when you look at especially the election, yeah, undoing the net zero stuff, the economy, you weren't overwhelmingly positively voted in on that, were you? Yeah. With such, of course, a municipality now of potential pitfalls, Badenoch's work is nothing short of gargantuan. Her brand of authentic and principle-led conservatism, again, what principles? I don't even know what those are because she's very struggled to articulate them herself, which will, of course, produce outgrowths of conservative polity, if identified correctly, is, of course, a powerful persuader for our disaffected. Is it really? Why are they not coming back in droves because Kimmy Badenoch's there? And why is Kimmy Badenoch not saying, well, these are my principles, this is what our policy should be? She hasn't said that. She daren't say policy because she knows what that will lead to. That will lead to a fracturing, once again, of the party. Because if it's too right-wing, the centrists of the party will complain. If it's too centrist, the right wing of the party will complain. And guess what? If it's right smack bang in the middle, both sides will complain. Of course, contrast this against Farage's party. It is at least subtle, but hugely important. Farage likes to, of course, convene that he and only he is the figurehead of the new central right realignment in our politics. Again, Farage would never say he's centre right. Farage would always say he's right. He's right wing. The ideological, the logic, of course, concludes that reform is, of course, a necessary vehicle for this and must replace us as the recognizable right wing party. Again, notice you say right wing party there, but new center right realignment. He knows what this guy knows what he's doing. He knows Farage is a right wing party. He knows Reform is a right wing party as well. He knows, of course, or at least should, I suspect, know what would happen if the Conservatives were to go full right wing. They'd lose more people to the Lib Dems. Anyway, in truth, thou this supposed king of conservatism does not understand his ideology. The election's most benevolent wish list, which Farage calls our contract to you, contains praise for nationalism and, of course, raising employers' national insurance to 20% for employment of foreign workers. Nationalisation is quite popular. That's why Farage is going there, because one thing Farage will do is he will engage in populism. Farage is not afraid to engage in populism. The Conservatives have, again, flirt with it, but then they don't follow through with it. You saw this with Boris Johnson. So the ballooning of the course states' regulatory power, and of course, a poignant jobs tax are, of course, the types of policies that at least we saw in Rachel Reeves' nightmarish budget. Nightmarish budget. Rachel Reeves' budget was not that bad, actually, on that. Of course, theory will dictate that reform machine should be at least celebrating these developments. For a party, of course, claiming to be the new right, these policies have no place on this side of the political spectrum, except this guy is completely misunderstanding right-wing populism and and reform itself. He's completely missed the mark on that. If he thinks that, no, I'm sorry, he's completely missed the mark on that. Furthermore, reform is a one-man, one-issue party. Immigration is obviously that issue. We have taken the correct action of acknowledging the mistakes that we made in government on this. But what differences are you going to make, though? Your idea is to, again, double down on the ideas that, again, did not work. It is not going to, of course, be a simple task clawing back these people who are rightly frustrated with ruinous mass migration that we oversaw. Often on this issue, we get led down the great deceptive rabbit hole that the tendency is to recommend that we take all the reforms, immigration policies, and naturally rob them of their appeal. The major problem with this is that nobody actually believes us to implement them and reach the desired result. It's not only that, it's that a lot of the people in your party don't want to go in that direction either. They know that going in that hard right direction, guess what? That scares more people off to the Lib Dems. What are you going to do about that? No acknowledgement of that. No acknowledgement of that. Once again, every single one we've ever seen of this, even this young conservative, getting it completely wrong. So consequently, we must now widen the debate for reform voters. It is in our interest to at least understand why the other motivating concerns are for reform voters to highlight the three parties are remarkably policy-like on at least these two. Having just under 350 words on addressing the NHS blemishes and at least 2 and a 3 page on education reveals that they are now oriented around pure problem identification. Exactly, they are a populist party. Congratulations for noticing that. But what exactly are you going to do? Oh, yeah, we're going to speak to the reform voters. Bear in mind, we've looked at polls, we've looked at people who have done focus groups on the past of these people. If they go to reform, they go to reform. They ain't coming back to your party. So once again, this idea that you can take those voters back means that you are once again splitting your right-wing vote, and they cannot understand how to heal that divide. And by the way, good luck. because we've seen this on the left for years, and it took a long time for us to finally at least get the message through that tactical voting would be a way to get rid of the Conservatives. It took us a long time to get through to that, the people. Even, of course, putting policy issues aside, reform's existence in a first-past-the-post electoral system does highlight the chance of a Labour victory. Through this, we can at least make a compelling case that if you would like a serious and comprehensive Conservative policy, voting reform will deliver the opposite. Our rhetoric, of course, matters in telling Reform voters our findings. Badenoch's obvious disdain for indecipherable political jargon intensifies us to be direct and forceful, except when she does that, she doesn't come across strong at all. She is not coming across well to the British public. Bear in mind, at the moment, I think she's less popular than Keir Starmer at the moment with the British public. So, wow. Good start there, Kemi. Good start there. And of course, when we tell that story, Farage will, of course, find it extraordinarily tough to actually shift his party from campaigning to governance mode. And we'll be left with members and leadership now on the back foot. An advantage akin to the necessities now is a call for at least action. Without action, reform insurgents may, of course, write our last chapter in British politics. Except, what are you going to do? What have you offered there? I'm sorry, he's offered nothing. He's offered nothing here, except, oh, we should go and talk to these reform voters. Bear in mind, as I've said this before, they lost more voters to the Lib Dems than they did Reform. Who do you think they should really be talking to? Anyway, yeah, future political Conservative pundit there, and you can see the party is in a huge, colossal mess. And like I say, if you think it's bad now, if you think we've covered the cream of like Conservative panic about reform, oh boy, just you wait, because the best stuff is yet to come, especially depending on how those May elections shake out. So as always, thank you very much for watching. Have a very happy and Merry Christmas. Like I say, there'll be no video tomorrow. I might do maybe a Christmas morning live stream. I don't know. I'll see how I feel in the morning. And of course, as always, we'll see you all very soon. So until then, thank you very much for watching. And of course, click like and share button on your way out, and have a very happy Christmas.